Hey guys, a lot of people want to know, how do you train a guard dog, or they'll get a pup from us. They want to know, how do you train it? And if you get a pup from us, this is how we train our pups, and it'll be done this way. These are our two pups. They were both born out in the pasture. There's actually still two more out there we hadn't caught yet. They're born out in the pasture. They were old enough to wean, but not so old enough. Well, we could catch, try to cut these two anyway. And we'll get the others. So we put them in a pen like this with some goats. And sometimes there's some sheep in here. It doesn't really matter. Just put them in with whatever you want to protect. And our dogs will switch back and forth from sheep to goats pretty easy. And so we had them in this smaller, this is actually our bud box here, but we put them in here so they could get underneath the door, if you can see that. But they could get in here and get away from the goats if they wanted to. And we fed them in here. Their food was in here. The goats couldn't eat it. And then we got them on dry dog food. We started them on dry dog food with like some milk replacer poured over the top of it for a couple of days to get them eating it good. And then we just used dry milk replacer sprinkled over the top. And then, after a couple, 2-3 days of that, they're just eating dry dog food just fine. And then we set up this pen and we get them eating out of the dog food feeder. So you can see now that's the little dog dish, I guess you'd call it, that we were feeding them dry dog food in. And we put this is just an old feeder we had around. It's not exactly like the one that they'll eat out of, the big 50 pounders. But anyway, we put the dog food in there, and they'll learn. They crawl through these holes. And they go in there and eat dog food, see? And then they can actually be pretty big and still crawl through that 6x6 hole there, that cattle panel. And so they'll just learn to eat out of that. They'll learn to eat out of the dog food feeder. And then when they're eating out of that pretty good, we can transition them to the other feeder. And we'll take this panel, a panel like this one, and we cut one of these down lower, like down here, and we'll bend it down, and they can crawl in and out of there until they're big enough to jump in. See, and then when they learn to jump in, like we'll put them in there, and maybe we'll bend that back up, and they'll have to learn to jump out. That's how we kind of train them to the dog food feeder. But you just want to have them in with whatever they're going to protect. And if you don't have sheep right now, you plan on getting them, all you have is goats. We really don't have any trouble having them switch over. It's not a big deal. There was some sheep in here earlier, and I don't know, a lot of these animals in this pen I also use to train my border collies. So there could just be different animals in here at different times. We just put them with something. 2-3 head is, that's all it takes really. I wouldn't put one by itself. A goat doesn't like to be by itself, or a sheep. At least have two together. And that's all you do to train them. And they can't really get out of this 4x4 squared wire. Now they could go through this just the gate here, but they never offer to. But they're just going to go out to the pasture. If they do, we pet them occasionally, as long as they're with the animals. As long as they're in this pen, we'll pet them. But then they've never got out. They never come to the house. If they did, we'd bring them back down here. If they continue to do it, we throw rocks at them. Do something to make them want to stay with the goats. Don't just let them roam out there in the yard or something there willy-nilly. Just make them stay in here, and they more normally do. We rarely have much of an issue with pups not staying in this pen. That's pretty much all there is to train them. It's sort of like a hunting dog. You know, you can't really train it to hunt. It's either going to do it or not. And these dogs are, you know, we rarely have a failure. I wouldn't say never, but we probably have. I just don't remember. But yeah, just put them with what you want them, and get them from somebody that, you know, their parents are good guardians. Well, that's 99% of it right there. So that's pretty much what there is to train a dog. We've got another dog that's probably going to have pups here soon. If you're interested in pups, let me know. We do have a waiting list, but sometimes people already find one by the time we have a litter or something. So yeah. Now these two are actually half Marama and half Anatolian Shepherd. So, and we're probably just going to keep these two, and maybe the other two that we haven't caught yet. But we usually have another litter this fall, and one dog, like I said, is pregnant. So that's it, guys. That's how you train your dog. So the best thing you can do then is, after you've had them in there a while and they know kind of where the food is, and I don't know, maybe a couple weeks or two, and then you can just turn them all out together. If you can just open that gate like what we can, or if you got, you know, a place that you can just turn everybody out together, and then they come back in. Maybe you feed the little goats there in the evening, they come back up here, and the dogs come back up here to their food, and then they go back out. And you can integrate them with another group of goats that way, or sheep. Just let the group that you got them with, it's best to kind of keep them with them rather than take them from here and take them over to a brand new pasture with brand new goats and things like that they're not used to. My preferred method would be just to open the gate, let them go out. Maybe you've got some other animals out there they're going to join with, maybe other guard dogs, and they've been up here sniffing each other through the fence, see? And you really won't have much trouble if you do it that way. Just, you know, if they kind of have familiar territory to come back to, and these goats will come back in here, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to do it. You can't always manage that, but if I can, that's what I'd like to do.